Believe it or not, some of these characters actually exist in the comics. That's a fun fact. DC League of Super Pets is directed by Jared Stern and stars Dwayne Johnson, Kevin Hart, Keanu Reeves, Kate McKinnon, John Krasinski, and Ben Schwartz. And in this movie, the pets of the superheroes like Superman, Batman, and so many others in the DC universe have to take over and fight for justice and for the world when the heroes are taken down by a very apt villain, and it's up to them alone to find a way to get the solution to this problem. Now, if anyone has been watching any trailers anywhere, you've seen this advertised for a very long time. The thing feels like it's had 1,000,001 trailers, it was highly publicized, and I felt like it was kind of the oddball thing that was coming out this year from DC. And I wasn't necessarily extremely hyped to go see the movie, but I went to see it recently, and I have my thoughts. I think this movie overall works. It works pretty much as well as it can. It's filled with a lot of fun comedy, though a lot of the jokes at the time I felt was some of that just comedy that I don't really like, and it's a little immature, I think, at times. But overall, I think it's a fun romp. I feel like it's something the whole family can go to, and it does take good pride, and it does it very well at just poking fun and satiring the things in DC that are like, odd or don't necessarily make sense, but they're in the comics anyway. And I think that was where my strongest love for this came from. I wouldn't go so far as to say this movie's great, but I think it's very good, and I think it's a fun watch. Dwayne Johnson and Kevin Hart, once again, are a hilarious duo. They have their typical banter going back and forth, a little bit of spice thrown in there and here. But I think the standout in here, despite the fact that everyone gives a standout performance, was Keanu Reeves as Batman. This was something I was so excited to see from when they first showed the cast of this movie. And after seeing it, it did not let down. He is hilarious in here. He offers such a hammy performance that's kind of a mixture of like Christian Bale, Kevin Conroy, I'd say, and it's just dead drop funny. Everything about it is great. I think that the villain in here is pretty good. He's the kind of villain that you'd expect in a movie like this, and he offers everything that he needs to do, and he's funny while doing it. But they also do a good job at making this movie where it can come across very heroic, and like they're doing something great. I do have negatives with this film. The film, I feel like sometimes it got a little too bogged down with jokes. Like, there were scenes where I thought should have played it a little serious, because I think any good cartoon or animated feature knows that. And I wasn't a big fan of the animation style in here. It was a little odd, and I wasn't crazy about it. I also think at times the script was a little janky, and it wasn't perfect all the way through the way I would have liked it to have been. I just think the movie does fail at some things that it should be able to succeed at. And I was really hoping for more from this movie. It didn't quite live to all my expectations, but was still, I think, worth the watch anyway, and I enjoyed myself. Very important to mention when it comes to talking about this movie is it's really not necessarily a movie for adults. I think this is a movie more or less meant to entertain kids. It's meant to make it a little more fun for them, a little more lighthearted in tone. There is stuff in there, I think, if you're a grown-up, that you can laugh along with, but it's primarily not geared for you. It's going to be for the younger demographic, and there's nothing wrong with that. It just means the movie's probably not going to cater to me as much, and I'm not necessarily going to have the best time or enjoy it as much as, I don't know, someone who's younger than me, say, my younger sister. She's not. She's going to probably enjoy this way more than I would, because this just isn't something that, I would go out of my way to watch. In fact, the only main reason I was to review this movie was because, it's a bigger film coming out, and I think it was worth it. And while it did pass my expectations somewhat, did prove itself, I still think it's just something that I will probably forget about in a short time. Nevertheless, that is not to say this movie is not a bundle of fun. There are great sequences, great action scenes, surprisingly, in here, and there is quite a bit of genuine, exploration of DC characters, and though it's told through comedy, it makes sense when you think about it. And I think that's where this movie can work for a mature audience, because you realize what's going on, whereas a kid's going to be like, I don't know what's going on, but that's something I liked. I don't really have a lot to say about this movie. It just didn't make much of an impression on me. Not that it's bad, it just is okay to me, and I had a good enough time with it. I'm going to give DC, the League of Super Pets, a 6 out of 10. So thank you guys so much, as always, for watching, and I will see you next time.